Hi, it's Guy the Injector Guy. Come here to do a quick tutorial on how to use the Bronco Empower CTA. And I have a different model than you have. You actually have the 6.0, 8.0, I'm sorry, and this is a 6.0. So some things are a little different. I'll explain it as we go. Notice you have a much larger screen than this, a little nicer. But basically, an injector has three components. We have the head, which I have here, and I have the monitor, and then we have an electronics box. The electronics box on your system there in Hoboken is all the way to the left, and it plugs into the wall with a regular power supply, and that's what powers the head. The cables then run up into the head here. So what you have to do is, if you ever have a problem where you can't turn the power on the head, you have to go to the electronic box and make sure there's power to the electronics box. So just so you know that the electronics box is separate. It's in the corner, it's plugged in, and you know how to reset that by just unplugging it, plugging it back in. To start the units is one of the first things I want to tell you. So if you notice on the head here, you have a toggle switch, and that goes on, up and turns that on. And that takes a full 30 seconds for it to warm up. So you'll actually see the injector will, come up, and it take about 30 seconds to do that. Same with the monitor. The monitor one is actually under here. It's under the right-hand side, and it's a toggle switch. So once you press it, it turns it on. It doesn't stay on. It doesn't stay depressed. It snaps back down again. Then when you want to shut it off, you do the same thing, okay? You don't have to go through anything where you just use the button to shut everything off. So this is what your screen's going to look like when it first comes up, okay? Hopefully you can see that real well. And what happens is you'll notice there's nothing in the program, nothing here, all right? Matter of fact, it wants me to tilt the head up on the injector. That's why the injector knows where the hell it's up or if it's down with this unit, all right? So we have it straight up and down, so we're ready to load. But for now, I want to show you how to program and the different things that happen. Over here is our contrast side. Over here is our saline side. Over here is our actual programs that we're going to be injecting, all right? This is your information center. Please initialize by pressing the manual keys on the contrast injector. Up here, it would say remote not found if it was not communicating to the head. All right, so if the head was off or for some reason the head doesn't have power, this is where we'll say remote not found. Sometimes you turn these on, they won't sequence. So you're gonna unfortunately have to go over, you have to shut one off, maybe shut this off, turn the monitor back on, have the monitor on first, and then go in and turn the head. Always like to have the monitor first, head second. Okay, so then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in and we're gonna have to program it. And notice everything says CCC. Well, you press this, for instance, the number 2, well, first it wants us to program contrast. So we have to go into flow rate, and we can go in and let's just say we're going to do 3.0. So it's going to say 3.0 here, then you enter, it'll show up here. And volume, I usually do 93 because that's usually by the time you fill 100 up, that's what's going to ask for. We're going to enter that. And we want to take this, our saline, make this saline, and we want to do that for 3.0. Enter, and we want to do that 50, enter. All right, if we want another one, we go down here, and we can set a whole new program if we wanted to. And why isn't it letting me go? But we could. But meanwhile there are programs already installed on your system. If you hit program, you can actually type the program in if you want it, but you can go through here. So let's say we're doing a cardiac bolus. We just press that, and the cardiac bolus program shows up. All right, so then what happens is we're going to select that, and then there it is. There's our information. You notice it says patient ID, contrast. You can go through all the trouble of typing that stuff in if you want, but there's no reason for it. It's not going to be sending it off to PACS or any system or print it out or anything like that. So this is, does have this, but again, it's something, you don't really need to worry about. So this is just the screen that we have, and then I'm going to go over. So we're all set with our protocol. Let's go over and load our injector up. So then I'm going to come over here, and hopefully you can see that. Maybe see I can tilt that a little bit better. There we go. All right. So now what happens is we have clamshells. So this is a little different. Is these doors open like this? They open in a clamshell. I already have the syringes out in a kit to show you. Then what we do is we take the syringes, we put them in. I kind of put them in this sturdy half first, make sure they're in there. Shut the doors. This one's giving me where we're not cooperating for whatever reason. There we go. So now it says single initialize, manual, dual initialize, and we're going to dual initialize. We can also turn auto on. All right, load syringes. let's do that. And then what'll happen is if we do auto, as soon as we put the syringes in, they'll start running up. Now you'll notice what's different with yours is I think yours has both motors can run at the same time. This one has to do one at a time. So again, this is a 6.0 model, you have the 8.0 model. So again, there we go. We have the contrast side moving up first. Contrast is on our left, it's more contrast down here. And then there's a light that says that that's what motor's operating. As soon as we go to the saline side, it's hard to see, but a little light, not gonna show it. Little light that says the saline side's running. We're all set when that runs up. So now we have our spikes. I already took the dust covers off our spikes. I'm knocking syringes over all over the place. But we have our fill spikes that we have here. Now I don't know how you're filling your saline on yours. Sometimes you use a transfer set in a big bottle, big bag, but I don't know how you're doing it. So what happens is first we're going to load our contrast. Then I'm going to do Protofill. Now what Protofill does, it's going to fill through the protocol. So let's take our bottle of contrast. We're going to then put it down here. And it snaps right on there. And then hit Protofill. And now the first thing it's going to do, it's going to pull down. And it's going to pull back up just like you would with a regular syringe to make sure it expels the air. So when it's drawing back its final drawback, it doesn't put a lot of air bubbles in there. Once it's on its final drawback, you can let go of the bottle. The only time you have to hold the bottle is just when you're pushing up. Sometimes it puts a lot of pressure in the bottle and you don't want the bottle spewing out. So there that goes. And then what happens is now we're over to our saline side. We can take this off. And then we're going to go to our saline side. And then our saline, we're going to then do the, I don't know how you're going to hook up your saline, all depends. For whatever reason, I did not grab that plunger. What happens that, I don't know how that happened, but just run it up until those little fingers snap around the thing. I used a syringe before, maybe that's why. Yeah, for whatever reason, it doesn't like me grabbing that syringe for the second time. There, let go. Yeah, I used this syringe twice. It doesn't like doing that. But anyway, you would run your plunger down, and we need 50, so we're just going to overfill a little bit, and there we go. All right, now we're going to take our spikes off. All right, and then we're then ready to then hook up our tubing. Now, notice the tubing has these are one-way valves. They're check valves that are on the ends of these. There's one here, there's one here. Short side goes on contrast. Long side goes on the saline. All right, and then first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to the contrast, and we're going to pull that up till we get the contrast to the Y, and then we're going to go over to our saline, press the saline buttons here, and then now they operate saline, push that up, and then saline comes out and dribbles out into your tray, like so. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to inject. We're all ready to inject. To do that, to arm it and everything else, it has to be in the down position. This way it knows it's all ready to go. You can actually arm it right from here. It even tells you what the flow rate is on this screen over here. And then of course over here, you have your arm button on your main screen. So let's say we're all ready to arm. Yours will talk to you. This one doesn't talk to you, but yours will say system is armed. And then now you can run it. You can either go over and start hand switch on the head. There's also a run button on the head itself, or you can hit run right from this area here. Good big control monitor. Once you're done injecting, this one should go pretty quick because we did 5 mL a second. And you notice you have your elapsed time counting up. The elapsed time's nice. Every time you do inject, it'll reset itself, the elapsed time. But it'll drive you nuts because when you're done injecting, it'll still go elapsed time, even when you take the syringes out and everything else. Just don't worry about it. It will reset when you start your other program. But the nice thing about the elapsed time, of course, is for blood clotting. You want to make sure that you didn't take too long, maybe to pause or something like that, so you have an elapsed time. All right, so now we're done the injection. This is where things get a little tricky. Is over here, we have to have our head up, If we were to hit replace syringe to remove those syringes, all right, what's going to happen is pressure is going to build up because of these thing here. I'm going to try to build pressure up with it. So I'm going to take this one off, all right, and we're going to run the ram back. We're going to hit replace syringe. But you need to take both of these off so pressure doesn't build up. But I want to hopefully prove to you what happens when you build up too much pressure. Is what's happening now, because of the one-way valve, it's not allowing any pressure to come through. So that one-way valve is to prevent any backflow. So now it's even preventing air from backflowing. So when she hits all the way to the end and releases those fingers, sometimes it goes bang. And it's gonna make a liar out of me this time. But there's no fluid in there too as a lubricant, so there might be, you know, vacuuming buildup. Let me see if we can hit this and hear vacuum being spilled. No. By the way, the nice thing is you can turn these syringes while they're already locked in place. So if you don't want to turn this, you just turn the syringe instead. Some guys do that. All right. So now we're all set. We just throw these away, and you're all ready for the next. You can leave those open. You're already ready for the next procedure. And notice it says close syringe door, so it knows on the monitor that you have a syringe. Done. Again, here's our lapse time. Continuing to count up. But again, when we start a new procedure, that will go away and reset itself to 0 and count up again. All right, hope that helps out. If you want to know what some of these other buttons are, setup is to go into the setup program. If you wanted to, you know, do the, you know, make a test ingestion, you want to print. There's no printer connected to this system. This is where we go into service mode. You can change your volumes if you want. If you like the beeper higher, you can change your audio too. This one again doesn't have audio, which yours does, so you might be able to adjust that if you don't like it talking to you real loud. Hit enter when you're done. Pressure limit units, you can change that if you don't like PSI, but that's what we know in America. You can actually change the contrast if you want to tell what contrast you're using. This tells you what remotes are, and you want to return. You don't have to hit shutdown. If you want to shut it off, you would just hit return. And then here we go. And then when you're all done, you want to shut everything off. You go over to the head, hit that little button off on the head, and you want to hit the little button off over here, and that shuts your monitor off at the same time. Hope that helps out. Have a good day.